college football playoff expanded bracket. They're expanding the bracket to 12 teams, which I know everybody has been waiting on. I got a little information on the bracket and how it's going to work. So On3 has reported that the new college football playoff will put the 4 highest ranked conference champions as seeds 1 through 4. That means that even if Notre Dame is the number 1 ranked team in the country, they would get the number 5 seed, requiring them to win 5 straight games to win a title. Well, we're not going to get into that right now. I got a couple more quotes for you guys about how the bracket is going to work out and everything. But I just think it's amazing that it's expanded to 12 teams. I think it's been needed for a long time. I think this year, I mean, there's been a lot of years. There's every year we could say, oh, if we had 12, this team would have got an opportunity. Oh, if we had 12, this team would have an opportunity. But I think this year was one of the more drastic years that we saw in the college football playoff era, just because we saw a 13-0 team win their conference, win all the games in front of them, do everything right. The only thing they did wrong was it's not even something that they did wrong. Their quarterback unfortunately got hurt, and that is why the committee said they left him out of the playoffs, which I kind of understand, because then you see them play Georgia, and granted, all of their transfers and everybody that they had really brought in didn't participate in that game. So we could have expected a blowout like we saw, because all the players that helped them get that 13-0 record weren't there. But we did see them get beat down by Georgia, who was lauded as maybe the best team in the country all year until maybe late in the season. And still might have been the best team in the country. They just didn't get an opportunity because they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. So that's pretty tough for Florida State. And I know Florida State probably wishes that this was in effect last year, but now that it's going in this year, I'm very excited. You know, I'm an FCS guy, so 2014 playoff, 8 seeded teams. I believe there's going to be 4 seeded teams in the 12-team playoff. That's going to be awesome. Get some home dates, I believe, for the playoff. Get some home games, 4 playoff games, so that the home environment, the home fans get to see their teams play again. The home fans get to experience a playoff environment. I mean, I think it's really good for college football. It's going to be amazing. A lot of people don't tap into the FCS playoffs, but that I feel like is a great example of why 12-team playoff is needed, because if you watch the FCS playoffs, they're so exciting. There's so many things going on. So many games to watch, so many really good games that take place. I mean, this year's playoff was amazing. A bunch of overtime games, a bunch of games that went down to the wire. Hopefully we're able to see that in the college football playoff. And also, hopefully, you know, one thing I think a lot of people like myself who think about a more expanded playoff bracket, they think about the little guy, the guy who's been good all year, the guy who may not necessarily play against the best competition, but the guy who rightfully deserves an opportunity. For instance, I think of James Madison. James Madison last year, I think 11-1, went 11-1 in the regular season. They may have lost the Sun Belt, or no, they didn't even get to play in the Sun Belt championship. But James Madison is a team who I think it has really good records year in and year out and deserves an opportunity. Or let's take 2016, I think the year was, or 2017, UCF. Since James Madison, I'm not going to do James Madison since they had the infractions and, you know, all those things. Not the infractions, but they're moving up, so they're not allowed to play in postseason play, which I think is a dumb rule, but we don't have to get into that right now. UCF in 2017, 2016, whenever they had that really good team, they went 13-0, 14-0, whatever it was. I think it was 13-0. They beat Auburn in the bowl game, and then they called themselves the national champions. Well, I think now that we have the 12-team playoff bracket, that takes that out of it. You don't have to call yourself the national champion. You are going to get to prove who the national champion is, and you're going to get an opportunity to work your way through the bracket, hopefully make it to the national championship and mix things up. I think it makes it very similar to basketball when you got those Cinderella stories, some of the, you know, the St. Petersburgs, Oral Roberts, you got all these schools, these smaller schools, Furman, what is this? Not Sam Houston, but the school in Texas. Teams like that in the NCAA bracket in basketball, they get an opportunity to get in the tournament. Then you don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, the first game, you're always going to play a 1, 2, 3 seed, one of those higher seeded teams. But you win that, and then it's whoever wins. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody just wants an opportunity, and this is going to give more teams an opportunity. Now, in the future, I'm sure there'll be people who say, "Oh, we need a 16-team bracket," because there's going to be that one team at 13 or 14 on the bubble that gets left out, and people are going to want more. I think we see it happen in the FCS as well. People always think people got snubbed, but with a 12-team bracket, that's going to get more teams in, and that's going to truly show who the best team in the country is. Who came out on top at the end of all this? They had to play the best teams in the country. Everybody's not going to see everybody, but I think it gives more parity for college football, and it just is more exciting for the fans. Obviously, they're going to be able to sell these games more, so more advertising dollars for the NCAA, more advertising dollars for ESPN, Fox, all these networks. Everybody's going to profit from this. Everybody's going to benefit from this. So it's good for college football, and it's good to keep, to allow more teams to have an opportunity to win the national championship instead of it just being the SEC Invitational, because that's at this point what a lot of people think it is. That's what a lot of people call it, the SEC Invitational. And let's try to get out of that, So here's some logistics about the 12-team playoff. The 5 highest ranked conference champions plus the next 7 highest ranked teams. So say the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So it's probably going to be an SEC team, probably a Big 12 team, probably an ACC team, probably a Big 10 team, probably multiple in that range. And then the next 7 highest seeded is highest ranked teams. So my thing is, well, yes, they're still going to go off the college football playoff ranking, so that's what's going to judge it all. And prior to that, it's probably going to be the AP and the media poll that's going to run the rankings and everything up until the college football playoff takes over. But that could be very interesting because the next highest 7 ranked teams, that could be anybody, I think some of those Sun Belt teams sometimes sneak in when they go undefeated. Some of those American Conference teams can sneak in when they go undefeated. That's where those teams in the Sun Belt Conference USA, like what's the team from last year? UTSA, or might have been 2 years ago, UTSA or UTEP, one of those teams in Texas went undefeated, and they're playing the Conference USA, so nobody, I think, even looked at them to possibly make the playoff. But then you got the Coastal Carolinas from a couple years ago. Just there's so many teams that play good, and now this is going to give them opportunity. Under the 12-team playoff format that begins this fall, the 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4, and each will receive a first round bye, which I think is awesome. That is an incentive for teams to play hard all throughout the season. That's an incentive for you to win all your games, because that's a big thing in the FCS, getting those seeded games, getting that bye week, being able to see who you're going to play, being able to scout them a little more, rest your players, get guys healthy. That's a benefit to being able to make the playoff and be one of those higher seeded teams. Will receive a first round bye, while teams seeded 5 through 12 will play each other in first round on the home field of the higher ranked team, which is awesome. The quarterfinals and semifinals will be played in the New Year's 6 bowl games. The national championship game will continue to be at a neutral site. First round, you have 4 games because there's 8 teams. So that's 4 games. Next round, you're going to have 4 games as well. That would be the quarterfinals. Those 4 teams playing those 4 teams that made it to the first round, that's going to be the quarterfinals. That's going to be a New Year's 6 bowl. Next round, you got the semifinals. There's 2 games, 4 teams left. That's going to be, both of those will be New Year's 6 bowls. So I guess that counts as 6 games. So dang, this is interesting. So then that means 2 teams get to play in New Year's 6 bowls. So since the quarterfinals and the semifinals will be New Year's 6 bowls, that technically means a team will get to play in 2 New Year's 6 bowls. So my next question would be, and this is the first thing that popped into my mind, with like the bowl gifts and, the bowl environment, how does that change that? And then like also some of these teams, I guess these are the best teams, so these are some of the teams that will be playing in these New Year's 6 bowls anyway, but how does that affect bowl season? How does that affect, I don't know. I just think it's weird that these guys are going to be playing in 2 New Year's 6 bowls, and I think the bowls, the meaning of the bowls is meant for them to be a celebration, for the players and for the great season that they had. But if 2 teams are getting to have 2 New Year's 6 bowls, what does that mean for what the meaning of these bowls is? What does that mean for the future of the New Year's 6 setup? I don't know. That leaves me with some questions for sure, but that's exciting and cool that, they're going to get to continue to play in a bowl. So they're trying to maintain the bowl format while still trying to give people what they want in terms of a playoff bracket, in terms of more teams making the playoff. I think there's a lot that the college football playoff has to juggle here. So commend them for being able to do that. No conference will qualify automatically, and there will be no limit on the number of participants from a conference. I understand why they put that in there, because a lot of people are going to be seeing, like, say, for instance, this year, I think LSU finished 9-3. I think Georgia finished the regular season 11-1, and Alabama finished the regular season 11-1. In this playoff format, I think 3 SEC teams get in. I think they put LSU in, or it might not have been LSU. It might be Ole Miss. I think they put Ole Miss in. LSU was 9-3. I think Ole Miss was 10-2. I think they put Ole Miss in at 10-2 because I think they were like 11 or 12, maybe 10. I think they might have been 10. They put Alabama in for sure, and they put Georgia in for sure. That's why they put that stipulation in there, just letting people know there's no limit. So they could essentially have like a 12-team SEC playoff if they wanted, if the SEC was that good. Or they could have like a 12-team SEC Big Ten playoff, or 12, like they're putting that in there because they're letting the fans know it's not always going to be just like everybody gets just because you won your conference doesn't mean you're going to get in. Like if you win your conference and you're 8-4 or maybe 9-4 since you won the conference championship, if you win your conference and you're 9-4, that doesn't guarantee you a spot in. You have to be one of the top 12 teams in the country to get into the college football playoff, which you got to respect. But we also do know how biased some of the people who vote on rankings and vote on these things are biased towards the SEC, which is the best conference in football. So I think there should be a healthy level of a little bias there, because they have shown year in and year out that they're the best conference, them in the Big Ten. So they're just setting the stage right now, just letting you guys know that, hey, there's no guarantee that if you win your conference you're going to be in. There's no limit to how many teams in each conference can be in. We're just letting you guys know. And I just already read the thing about I'm gonna read this again because I think I read it too early. The new college football playoff will put the 4 highest ranked conference champions as seeds 1-4. That means that even if Notre Dame is the number 1 ranked team in the country, they would get the number 5 seed, requiring them to win 4 straight games to win a title. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Just because, they don't get to play a conference championship game, so they don't even qualify for a 1-4 seed. That's tough. But also, on college football standpoint, I know Notre Dame has been independent for a long time, except for COVID when they played with the ACC. I think this incentivizes Notre Dame to find a conference, most likely the ACC or the Big Ten, one of those two. But I think this incentivizes them to join a conference so that they can qualify to be in the college football playoff at a higher seed, That'll give them a bye because only the top 4 seeds get a bye. And, this is interesting too because the new college football playoff will put the 4 highest ranked conference champions as seeds 1-4. So say the Big 12 or ACC has a really down year and you got the Big 10 champion in there, the SEC champion in there. You put the 4 next highest ranked champions. So what if the American Conference and Sun Belt champions are at 10 and 11? They're going to get a seed because they're the highest ranked champion. Say they're both undefeated. The American Conference champion goes undefeated and the Sun Belt champion goes undefeated. That means they're going to get in over the Big 12 champion or no, because it just depends on where they're ranked. So the people doing these rankings, say you have a 9-4 Big 12 champion or ACC champion, but you have that I can just see it right now. This is now going to create some discourse with how they're ranking teams, because if you have a really low ranked SEC or ACC or Big 12 champion, whatever Power 4 conference it is, if you have a really low ranked one of those teams in those conferences, people are now going to say, oh, they're just ranking them there so that they can get a seed so that you don't have a Sun Belt seed. Or, this is going to be very interesting. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I know I'm hella excited for it. I've been waiting for a 12-team playoff. My thing, and I ask my friends this all the time, is who thought a 14 playoff from the jump was going to be a good thing? And I know this is something that they had talked about for a long time. A lot of fans have been wanting a playoff. The BCS, the computers, they're not very good. We'd rather a human be picking this. I understand all the argument and all the discourse. But now, I just want to know, when they started the 14 playoff, who thought 4 was going to be good? You look at all these playoff formats. D3 football, I think they have like 32 teams. D2 football, they got a big playoff bracket. FCS football, big playoff bracket. NCAA basketball, big playoff bracket. But then college football, it's like, we're going to put the best 4 in. I mean, it never works like that because so many things can happen in football. It's not that you want to give them time to mess up, but it's like you want to give more people an opportunity to be able to prove themselves, which I think they deserve. The FCS, this year it worked out that the 1 and 2 seed played in the national championship, but I think that was the first time it worked out like that in some years. It's been a long time. Like, teams need an opportunity to prove themselves. That's why we play football. We play football to be able to prove ourselves on the biggest stage in front of the best competition. And I think that's what the 12-team playoff is going to do. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about the 12-team playoff. I know I've been talking about this for a minute, but I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to create a lot of excitement coming into the season and leading up to, through, and toward the end of the season. I think it's going to be so exciting, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So Glad that got approved. Glad it's going through. Glad we're going to get to see what it looks like. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about it.